Tonight in a theme that rhymes. God, work with my mind. Get me prepared for what you have for me. There are many of you, you don't have things tonight that you should have. Therefore, who should already be possessing certain things tonight, but you don't have it. You don't have it. And the reason you don't have it is your mind. We've been talking about how the new man is the creative work of God. We've been talking about how the new man is, again, the created work of God. But I want you to understand that we don't start out as the new man. We start out as a natural man. We start out as a natural. We are born a natural man. But Paul is showing the church, because many, again, as I said on Sunday, had begun teaching things that was troubling the church or the saints at Corinth. But Paul wants them again to know that, again, nothing avails or profits except being a new creation or a new man, which one becomes so by faith. Notice again, we're talking about the new man by faith, but we are born a natural man. Notice this again. Notice that in order to go from being a natural man, Paul also in one book called the natural man a mere man. He told saints that they should not be behaving like mere men, because in fact or in truth, they had been changed. They had been converted to the new man. But often there is a challenge. Once we come into being the new man, there's often a challenge there not to revert back to being the natural man. Notice Paul said, do not lie to one another. In other words, behavior change. Now we know, of course, when we look at that natural man, we were accustomed to lying. We were accustomed not just to lying, but we were comfortable lying. Many of us. Come on, somebody. I said many of us, we were comfortable telling lies, but not when we became the new man. When we became the new man, Paul said the church needed to stop lying to one another. Since, watch this carefully, since you have put off the old man with his deeds. We are born a natural man, but to go from being a natural man or a mere man to a new man, you have to recognize that that process, that transition, has to do with the creative work or the creative power of God. Now, it's important to understand that God has created every one of us as free moral agents. God has created us as free moral agents. What do you mean, Pastor? We were born with the power of choice. We was all born with the power of choice. And so God created us, again, free moral agents. We're born with the power of choice, so our choices matter. But understand, God creating us again, free moral agents, giving us the power of choice. He will never force us to obey him. God will never force us to obey him. That meaning that he will never force us to love him. God will never force you to obey him. He will never twist your arm and make you obey him. Oh, come on, somebody. That's good tonight, because some of us, we're basing our change on God making us do something. But God is not going to force his hand upon anybody. Come on, somebody. I changed because, yes, God helped me to change, but God could not help me make some necessary changes until I wanted his help to change. Come on, some of you, your life is better right now, but you are also making, watch this, better choices right now. And see, God is not forcing you to do it. You recognize, and this is important tonight, that when it comes to the power of choice, you also have consequences with choices. And I said our choices matter. Why do they matter? Because with choices come consequences. Now, my consequences can be good or they can be bad. They can be positive, they can be negative. The choices I make can yield me rewards, or the choices I make can cause punishment to enter into my life. So with every choice, there is a consequence. There is a consequence. And what I want to show us tonight is that when it comes to going from being a natural man to a new man, that's a choice. That's a choice. Now, it's the creative work of God. Again, it's the creative power of God, but it's our choice. It's our choice to move from going to being a natural man to being a new man, a new creation. Remember 2 Corinthians 5:17. If any man be in Christ, he is a new creation. Watch this. Old things have passed away, and behold, all things have become new. Now that again is a creative work of God. When you see a person who you know, when you look at their traits, their behavior, their attitude, and you know that this is not the same man, this is not the same woman, you recognize that to be, again, the creative work of God. Because many of us admit that we couldn't change ourselves. We couldn't change. We couldn't alter certain things. Many of us went years caught up in things, watch, only because we kept trying to deliver ourselves. We kept trying to do it our way. But once we decided, Lord, I'm going to do it your way. Lord, I'm going to do it according to the word. And I tell you tonight, my life has just been getting better and better and better and better because I'm committed to doing things according to God's word. I don't care how good an idea is. If it's not a God idea, it's not an ideal for me. Come on, somebody. Now, I'm okay with other folk just doing things, making decisions because it look good and it sounds good. But see, I've matured past that. Come on, somebody. I said I'm matured past that right now. I'm not so much concerned about a good idea as I am concerned about a God idea, something that came from God. Why is it, Pastor, that you're like that? Because I learned, child of God, that good ideas fail every day. Come on, I said good ideas fail every day. But see, in God, when you take a God idea and when you start obeying God, you don't have to worry about God's plan or purpose for your life failing. Now, there are going to be trouble, but you don't have to worry about it failing. Because see, there are some people tonight, and of course I don't mean physically, but there are folk that are fighting God. They are resisting God because they're too caught up with the natural man, not realizing that to obey God or to walk with God, you know, I love how the old folk, you say you got to walk with God. You got to walk with, but in order to walk with God, you have to be a new man. You have to be a new man because this old way of thinking is contrary to God. It's contrary to God. And notice Paul breaks it down so clearly to the church at Corinth in 1 Corinthians 2:14, when Paul said, but the natural man, notice what he says about the natural man, does not receive the things of the Spirit of God. Notice the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God. And then Paul tells us why the natural man won't receive. For they are foolishness to him. And that's what puts a natural man at odds with God. What causes a natural man, watch this, to resist God's instructions. Even though God's instructions are given to better a person's life. But if a person has not transitioned, listen what I'm saying tonight, he or she gonna fight, watch this, what's good for them. It is amazing. You sit back and you watch folk fighting things that's good for them. They're fighting what is of God. They're fighting what's from God. Now, why would I want to fight God? God been better to me than anybody. If it's one person I never need to fight, It's God. It's God. Sometimes y'all may not like me for this right here, but sometimes it's necessary for me to go back and forth with my wife. It's necessary for me to challenge her thoughts. And it is necessary sometimes for her to challenge sometimes what I might say. But never should we fight God. We shouldn't fight God. And so, but the natural man, notice again how Paul said, I love how he put it. He said, but the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God. See, the natural man won't receive what's coming from God. He won't receive wisdom that's coming from God. Again, he won't receive instructions that's coming from God. This is not just, you got all kind of wisdom, but when I say wisdom that comes from God, that makes wisdom then divine wisdom. You have worldly wisdom. You have sensual wisdom. You have street wisdom. They're all type. When folk talk to you about, hey, I'm operating in wisdom, what kind of wisdom? What type of wisdom? See, we want divine wisdom, but when it comes to the natural man does not receive divine knowledge or divine wisdom. Hear me tonight. Knowledge and understanding applied equates wisdom. Pastor, how do I operate in wisdom? Apply knowledge and understanding. When you apply knowledge and understanding, you are operating in wisdom, but not the natural man. He does not receive the things of the Spirit of God. According to John 16:13, the Bible said, when he, the Spirit of truth, has come, he will guide you, watch this, into all truth. See, the Spirit of truth is sent to guide us into, listen, not just some truth, but all truth. Now, if a person is being guided into all truth has the capability of changing every aspect of a person's life for the better. That means whatever problem we have, the solution to every problem is truth. Come on, somebody. I said the solution, the antidote for every problem is truth. But as a natural man, we don't possess all knowledge or truth apart from God. And this is the reason some folks are always left struggling. Again, it go back to what I said earlier, choices. They're always left struggling because they resist God. They resist the Spirit of God. Number two, which is important, the natural man lives by logic. He lives according to logic. And he will not obey, listen to me tonight, a natural man or woman will not obey unless, see, can we remember being like this? It makes sense to them. Any of y'all remember being like that? We didn't obey unless it made sense to us first. Imagine God giving you his word. Imagine God giving you instructions. And as a natural man, you think that your natural mind is the truth detector. And so when God gives you instruction, before you obey God, it's got to make sense to you first. You got to run it through your mind. You got to run it through, come on, somebody, through your truth detector, which is not a truth detector when it comes to God. Come on, somebody. And that's the reason in time past, many of us would be honest, we didn't obey God, and it was quite simple because what he was saying didn't make sense to us. And there are a lot of folk left on the outside of receiving God's promises because they don't make sense to them. Again, they're running it through what I'm calling tonight their truth detector, which is their natural mind. And since a lot of folks is at odds with God. You'll tell them what the word says. You'll tell them what the will of God is. But if it don't, again, make sense to them, they won't line up. They won't obey.